Good morning, dear students. Once again, on behalf of Digital Tech Society, I welcome you all to yet another exciting session of web development. Okay, I appreciate all of you who have logged on dot. Very good. Keep it up. Okay, we will start on time. Okay, thank you. Happy learning.
Okay, so I'll just start now. Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to be continuing with HTML, and oh wait, yeah, I'll share my screen and I'll show you the PPT. So yesterday we finished till images. I showed you how to add images to your website, and today we're going to be learning a few more things in HTML. And the first thing we're going to be learning is comments. Okay, so comments are not displayed in the browser, but they can help write notes in your program. So I'll just open up the file I wrote last time. This is the file. I've made it empty, and I can just write some lorem ipsum in here. I'm sure you're all aware. We use a paragraph tag, and I write lorem, lorem. So, and I'll show you how to open the file again. You right click, reveal in File Explorer, and then click on this. So you can see this is our website, this small paragraph over here. So now suppose I want to write notes for myself in the future. What I can do is I can go to VS Code and I can type command and then / like this. So you see this syntax pops up, and inside here I can write notes. So I can write, this is a paragraph. I can write this is a paragraph here, and if I go to the website, I can't see it here. You can see that the comments are not showing up in the browser. So if you want to write notes for like while you're programming, then you can use it here. I'll show you how to write notes again. You just use control and then you press / like this. So please type in the chat if you're able to do it, and if you want me to repeat, please ask. Okay, always is done. Sahana is also done. Okay, I'll repeat one more time for Tanya. So basically, we're going to be starting with comments. HTML comments are not displayed in the browser. They are helped to document your source code, which means that if you write some logic in your if you write some logic on your website and you forget about it later, you can write comments to help you remember. And the shortcut on VS Code is control and then / right here. You can see. So you open up VS Code and you press control and then /. So you find this here, this shows up. This is the syntax for a comment. And within these brackets, you write your comment. So I write hello there. If I write that, this is not going to show up in the browser. It's only in this file. So if I reload, it's not showing up. You can see hello there is not showing up. But if I delete this, then you can see it's going to show up in the browser again. You can see it shows up here, hello there. So that's how I write comments. So this is just a small demo that how to write comments for future documentation. It's a very small part of web development. So next we're going to be learning about the types of elements. So there are two types of elements, inline elements and block elements. You can see here, this is an inline element, and on the right it's a block element. So inline elements fit in alongside other elements, whereas block elements take up an entire line of space. And I'll show you some examples for both. So you can see here, this is the table for inline, this is for block. And in inline we have anchor tags, bold tags, italic tags, image, input, text area span. We're going to be learning about this today. And in block tags we have forms, h1 to h6, headers, lists, and then ULs and OLs. So I can just show you on the
Recording in progress.
I can show you on the website how these look. So if I go here and I type anchor, I type an anchor tag, I'll write uh, this is for Google. I'm just refreshing your memory. Google link. I go here, and if I click on it, it's gonna open Google. Anyway, so I'm gonna show you how we can inspect our code, whatever code we write. So basically you go to your website, like your browser, and you see these three dots over here. Okay. Or wait, I can just show you the shortcut instead. So what you can do is, you can right click to inspect. You right click on the website, and on the bottom it shows inspect over here. So you click on that. So now you can see all the HTML code we've written. Like over here is the head, this is the body, and then this is the paragraph that we wrote, and then this is the link. So please type in the chat if you're able to do this. Okay, perfect, done. So basically, yeah, so now I can show you which one of these is block and which one of these is inline. So I'll just zoom in a bit, 1 second. uh, yeah, I hope you can see this clearly now. So once you hover over this, you can see that this paragraph tag is taking up all the space. You see all the blue stuff? It's covering the entire page. So this is called a block element because it acts as a block. It's taking up the entire chunk of the website. It's taking up 100% of the width. Now if you compare that to this link, it's only covering the link area. It's not covering the entire page, as you can see. So that's why we call a paragraph as a block element, and we call a link as an inline element. This is inside, this is not taking up the entire space. You can see the difference. And one more thing I'll show you is that if you have multiple block elements, like I'll just bring this down here. I'll duplicate this paragraph, Control C, Control V, and I'll duplicate this Google link, Control C, Control V. Yeah. So you can see that these block elements, they're being stacked. They're not next to each other because they're taking up 100% of the width. Whereas these inline elements, they're being stacked. You can see they're right next to each other. Even though in the file it looks like they're going to be stacked, but that's not the case. Because in HTML, all the white space is ignored. So it's very important that you understand that what inline elements look like and how block elements look like on the website. As you can see. Okay, so now we're going to continue on. I'll close this. Next, we're going to learn about divs and spans. So basically, yeah, like I told you, inline and block. So now we're learning about these two tags. These help us in organizing our code. So right now the code you see here is very small, but if we had lots of paragraphs, then it will start to look very ugly. As you can see, like this, it looks very ugly. And over here the website looks fine, but inside of VS Code we don't know that which paragraph is the first paragraph, which is the second paragraph. So what we do is we put things that are together in a div. I type div like this, and then if I put the first paragraph in here, and I take another div and I put the second paragraph in there. Okay, so you can see that fundamentally it does not change at all, but this just helps us in organizing the code. You can see now it's much more clearer that this is one paragraph and this is another paragraph. And if we had this is just lorem ipsum, so it doesn't matter, but if we had actual text that we wanted to separate, like if you go back to the Wikipedia page on chickens, and I see the first first paragraph here, I copy it and I paste it here. So this is the first paragraph. So now that it's in a div, I can start organizing this better. So after this, I can add an h1 or something, and add an h2, and I can type types of chickens, and then I can write the next paragraph on the types of chickens. So basically, this we just use divs and spans to organize better. So this is about a div, and I'll show you about spans. Yeah. So basically, divs are block elements and spans are inline elements, as I showed. This is inline. So we use spans with anchor tags, for example. Like, it's this anchor tab at the bottom. If we want to organize it properly, we put it in a span. Like, instead of keeping it separate, we just write span, and then we put the anchor tag inside the span. So now these both look identical in the website, you can see. They both look identical. But we need to keep these in divs and spans, because once we learn CSS, we're going to be able to edit the web page much more easier compared to not keeping them in divs and spans. So it's very important. Sorry, Sid, what are you asking about? Please, I didn't see your message. You can raise your hand if you have a doubt.
No, I was just asking about the
Yeah,
inspecting.
yeah,
You can do
inspect.
that for
Yes, you can do that for
any.
every website. Yes,
Okay.
that's a good doubt. And I'll just show you how to inspect it again. There's two ways you can inspect this. Like, suppose I go to YouTube and I want to inspect. I can either right click and I can inspect like this. You can see, I can see the HTML code for YouTube, and it's very, very big. It's like thousands of lines of HTML code. It's very hard to see it for big websites, but for our small websites, it will be very easy to see. You can see this is all HTML code over here. It's very big. And there's lots of scripts in here, like JavaScript. We're going to learn that too. And the other way we can inspect is we can just use the shortcut Control Shift I. I'll type it in the chat. Control Shift I. So that's how you open it faster. But you can just right click and open it normally. Okay, so now you've learned about divs and spans and inline elements and block elements. I'm just going to show you a website that we can refer to. So this is the website. It's called Mozilla Developer Network, and it's an excellent website to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, for example, if you want to learn about the HTML elements, we just click on this. I'll just maximize this, and you can see over here it's very big, massive, and they explain everything to you. Like, suppose I want to learn about what is a div, so I just click on this, open a new tab, and it tells me everything what a div does, and there's lots of information given here. So suppose you ever want to build something new, you can just go here, you can look at all of these elements, and you can see if you find something interesting. You can click on it, you can learn more about it, and if you ever forget how to use it properly, you can just go to this website and you can learn. So I'll share the website with you now in the chat. Yep, here you go. This is the link, and if you're just interested in the HTML part, then this is for HTML. This is for HTML. Yeah, it's a very nice website. We're gonna be using it a lot in the course. So let's continue on. That's what I wanted to show you. Now I'm opening up the new work for today. So today we're going to be learning a lot about forms, and today the main class will be about forms and the types of inputs that forms have. So all of us have seen forms in day-to-day life. Every website in the world uses one form or the other. And basically the form syntax is also like the HTML syntax we've been learning. It's exactly the same. And the form, as you can see, this is the form syntax on the bottom. Form, and then there's one word called action. Action is very important because it tells the form where to submit. So I'll show you the example of a form. 1 second. Yeah. So this is a website, just a random website I found. And you can see this form over here. It asks for your email, it asks for your full name, it asks for your country, like this. You can select from a list, and it asks for your password. And once you type your password, it becomes black. It like your text for full name, you can see the text you're writing, but for password, it becomes black. So this is all done with forms. And once you do this and write some gibberish in here, once you click on create account, it just submits. Or if it's asking me for a valid email, so I'm writing a random email, and then it submits. So that's the action part. It submits to its website, and now it's going to ask me to verify. I'm just going to delete that, and we're going to build our own forms now soon. So 1 second. Yeah, this is another example of a form. Facebook, you can see email address or phone number and password, and once you click on login, then it takes you to a different page. It takes you to the login page. So, and this is also an example of a form. Okay, so every form, we'll just write a form over here, basic form. I'm gonna go to my test file. I'm gonna delete everything. You can create new files if you want. Just click on this new file and save it as an HTML, app.html, for example. This is a new file, and if you want the boilerplate, just click on exclamation mark, and you get the boilerplate. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a form. So once I type form, it automatically says action equals slash. We're gonna click on the first one, and I'm gonna leave this empty for now. And I'll just type h1 here. This is the test page, so I have something to look at, because this form is going to look empty and the entire website is going to look empty. So now I have this, and the form is inside here. There's just nothing in it. That's why it looks empty. So now we're going to learn the types of inputs. So the first one we're going to learn is about the input element, and the input element is the most common form element, and they have a very important attribute called type. And they are special because they don't have a closing tag like image elements. Like, remember yesterday we were learning about image elements? Image elements don't have a closing tag. You can see there's only one. This is the opening tag, but there's no closing tag. Same way, we're going to learn about the input element, and that also has no closing tag. So I write input, as you can see, type equals text. And if I go to VS Code, input type, I can see the different types of inputs there are. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, so you just hover. You can see input type equals text, type equals button, type equals checkbox, type equals email. So there are different types of inputs. I'll show you the different types now. I'll show you 4 main. Yeah, I'll show you 3 for now. So yeah, I'll just write stuff before it so I know which one is which. This is text. This is email. And this is password. Yeah, so in type equals text, I can type anything I want. I can type text, I can type numbers, I can type symbols, I can type whatever you want. But for email, I can only type valid emails. If I type this and I submit, then it's going to show me an error, okay? And for password, if I type anything, it's just going to be black dots, as you can see. It's not showing me what I'm typing. But for text, it shows you what you're typing. And for email as well, it shows you what you're typing. So now I'm going to teach you, this is the input type. And in every form, we have inputs and we have a button for submitting the form. So I'll show you. 1 second. As you can see over here, this login, it submits the form. So same way, once we have a button, we can start to submit the form. So I'm going to do is I'm going to add this element called button, and I'll show it to you how the syntax looks. Alright, button. And you can see that there's many types of buttons as well. This is the normal one, and then this is a disable button. This is a reset button. This is a submit button. I'll put a submit button here. Submit me. And I'll put a reset button here. I'll show you. Okay. So if I type stuff here, first off, it says that this is not an invalid email address because I don't have @ symbol. So this is coming from Google browser. But if I type this @gmail.com, now I can submit it. And it looks like nothing happened because our action is missing. over here. But if I write something like slash tacos over here, and I reload this page and I do it again, I'll just type some gibberish in here. You can see that we went to slash tacos. So we know that this form's working, as you can see. So please type in the chat if you have reached till here. Okay, I'll show you how to get the form. I'll show you how to make another form. 1 second. You go back to VS Code. I'm gonna make a new form, brand new form. Okay. So this is my current website. It's empty. There's nothing in it. There's just one H1. It says this is the test page. I'm gonna go to VS Code. I'm gonna type FORM, and the first one you click on that. So you get a form. This is the form. And inside the form, I'm gonna add some input tags. So I'll write input. This is a normal one. And then for password, I just scroll down to P. You see password. I got a password input. And now I'm gonna get an email input. I can just change this to email. So I reload. And now you can see I have 3 inputs in the form. Sid, I'll cover that in a few minutes. I'll show it to you in a few minutes. So yeah, this is text, password, and email. And you can see if I write in the text one, this one works. This is for password, and then this is for email. So now I'm gonna show you how to submit the form again. I write a button, and you see on the bottom it says submit. I select this one, and over here I'm gonna write some text so I can see the button. If I don't have text in here, you won't be able to see the button on the screen. So now you can see this says submit over here. If you've reached till here, please type done. I'll show you how this looks, as you can see over here. You should have a form, and inside of that 3 inputs and a button. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, Madhav is done. And if you're having any trouble, please let me know. I will copy this code and I can share it in the chat so you can copy it in your system as well. Okay, I'll share it in chat as well. Yeah, like this. The indentation's actually going to be spoiled because of Zoom, but you can just copy it and you can paste it in the VS Code. And Sarvesh, I'll show you how to get password input. Basically, you have input. This is a simple input, and in the type space, instead of writing text, you make it as password, PASSWORD. You can see over here. Now I have a password input. If I just comment these out, I showed you how to comment them. It's just control and then slash. Now if I reload, this is text and this is password. If I press on submit, it submits. You can see the data vanishes, and it's submitting to this location, which is just a blank location. But if I write anything you want, if I write tacos again, yeah, slash tacos. Then if I write some more stuff in here, you can see it takes me to slash tacos. Okay. So has everyone understood till here? Please type if you've understood. And if you have any doubts, please ask me now, because we're going to continue on with this. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone's understood this. I'm going to continue on. Yeah, so these are more types of inputs. First one is input type equals text. This is a simple input used for text input. Next one is password. This is used for password input. The text is hidden. Third one is, oh, there's a doubt. Yes.
For the input thing, if let's say you didn't write the text part, So
Yeah,
it won't be accepted, right?
that's a good question. I'll just test it out now. We can see it ourselves. So if I just make it as input, let's see if this works. I think it should default to text. If I write this, I don't think it should show any errors. And it's not showing me any errors, as you can see. So tacos is just a random word. It's just where the form's submitting. You can change it to anything you want. Like if you write this is just where the form's gonna submit. So once I press this button, the submit button over here, that's where the form's gonna take us. You can see if I write this, it's gonna be now taking us to this, as you can see. So whatever you write in the action is where the form is gonna take you once you press this submit button on the bottom. You can make it anything you want. Like this. Even this will work. If I go to the same page, you can look at the URL. The URL changes. Now it just says slash toy doodoo, which is what I wrote over here. Just garbage text. So I'm continuing on. Next is input type equals number. This allows only numbers to be accepted as an input. I'm going to write one here. Input type equals number. Number. So over here, if I type to write, if I'm writing, I'm trying to write letters, but it's not working. You can see. If I type numbers, then it works. But if I type letters, it's not working. I can type minus and plus, but I can't type any letters. You can try for yourself. You take this, you paste it in your VS Code, and you try to write letters in it. It's not going to work. And you can also see these buttons. These help increment and decrement the value that we've written. Suppose I write 1, and I click on these buttons. It starts going up, as you can see. You can see it rising. You can see the number rising. It's only accepting numbers. So that's the input type equals number. Next is input type equals range. And this is a bit complicated. We'll cover it a bit later. And the last one is input type equals email. This has basic validation for emails, and it only allows email input. So next we're going to be learning about labels. So labels are very important. Basically, labels just help us link the input to a text, to some text. Like suppose I want to show to the user what this is. We have to show that's a password, right? So the syntax for label is very simple. All we do is we write label over here, and then it auto-completes for us. And it says label for dash. So let's leave that dash for a second. Let me just write I am a label here. If I write I am a label, you can see that this shows up here. So this looks like text. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect this text to this input over here. So if I click on this text, it's going to take me to this password input. So for that, what I need to do is I need to add an attribute called ID. So I write ID to the input. You can see it says define a unique identifier, which must be unique to the whole document. So if I write anything here, it has to be unique. This can only be used once. So for this, I'll write ID equals password 1. Please give your input and ID in this form like this. If you've reached till here, please type in the chat done. You can see my screen. This is how it looks. And if you have any doubts, please raise your hand. Okay, so 2 people are done. 1, 2, 3 people are done. Okay, I'll continue on. So now what in this label, we've already seen that there's a tag called for. What we're going to do is we're going to write the thing we want to link, the ID, inside of this for. So I want to link this to this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write password 1, as you can see. So now what's going to happen is very interesting. Now if I click on this, my cursor is going to go inside the password input. I click on this, you can see it's selected. I can type password. So that's how you can check to see if you've linked your labels with your passwords. I click on this, it's working. I click on this again and it's working. But suppose, for example, I accidentally miswrite it. I change this. This is missing a D. You can see over here. It's not going to work. If I click on this, nothing's going to happen. You can see. So that's how we use labels to link to the inputs. And the advantage for labels is that if you have a small input like a checkbox, then you can just click on the text and that will take you to the checkbox. And for screen readers as well, it will just read the label, and because you cannot see the screen, the people who are using screen readers, they can't see the screen, so it's going to help them out as well. This is very simple label elements, and here I have an example of a form with username and password as a label. I have the code here as well. I'll just copy it from here. Here, you can see this is a label. Once I press on this, it's automatically taking me to the inputs. So this is for username, this is for password. So this is how the labels work in real life. And one more interesting thing you might have noticed is that inside of this checkbox, inside of this input box, sorry, you can see username written here. But once I type something, it disappears. If there's nothing in it, it's there. But once I type something, it disappears. Same for password. If I type something, it disappears. This is a special property called placeholder. Over here, you can see. Inside of the inputs, I'm going to write placeholder, the first one. Placeholder equals, and then I can write whatever I want. I can write, please enter username here. And it's going to show up on my screen, you can see. So you can learn this as well. In your file, you can just write placeholder, and you can save it like this so you know what a placeholder is. And you can write comments as well, like placeholder text is displayed in the input box, in the empty input box. So this is it. We use placeholders a lot in forms. Like for example, one second. Over here for Facebook, you can see that the placeholder is email address or phone number and password. So that's how you tell the user that you're expecting some kind of input using the placeholder tag. So now I'm going to continue on. We've learned about labels. Next we're going to be learning about the button. So the button is a clickable button, and inside a button you can put text and tags if you want. And whenever you write a button, you should always have a type attribute to tell the browsers what kind of a button it is. Like suppose you can see here, the first one is a submit button. Once I have type equals submit, that once I click on it, the form submits, you can see. So if I type something here and I press submit, wait, sorry, I'll change the action to anything here, garbage. Once I type submit, it submits, you can see. But if I change the button type to reset instead of submit, and I write reset here, so this was gonna reset all the file all the inputs that I've written. So if I reload and I type some stuff here and I press on reset, you can see that the inputs reset it. I didn't change the page, you can see. I type here and I press reset, it's just gone. But if I change this to submit, then once I press submit, it submits. So reset's also very helpful if you want someone to reset what they've written. So that's why I always keep a submit button, and under that I keep a reset button like this. So it looks like this now. If I press submit, it takes me somewhere else, but if I press reset, then it resets. So please type down if you reached till here. Perfect. Oasis first, and once we have 2 or 3 more people done, I can continue on. I can show you the code again. This is the code for a reset button over here, and this is for submit. Anisha's also done. I can share this code with you if you want. Perfect. So there are many people done now. I'll continue on. Next, we're going to be learning about the name attribute. So I'll tell you one, like right now, as you can see, once we submit this form, the data is gone. Like we don't know what's happening with the data, right? So if there was a way we could see what's been submitted, then that would be very nice because we can see what the user is getting. So basically, to do that, we need to add another attribute to the input, and that is called a name. So you can see over here, name attribute specifies the name of an input, and name attributes used to reference elements or to reference form data after a form is submitted. So if you want to see the form data, then you need a name. And you can see that only form elements with a name attribute will have their values passed. So if you don't have a name attribute, your form data is not going to be sent anywhere. So if we want to make a form and we want people to see, if you want to see the data that people have written, we need a name. So now I'm going to write name. Suppose I write Shantanu, for example, okay? Just as an example. Usually we don't do this, but just to show you. So now if I reset and I write username as chicken and password as something here, once I submit, you should look at the URL. You can see the URL over here. First it says where it's submitting, fin sifioi, that's what we wrote as the action, and then there's a question mark, and then it says Shantanu equals chicken. You can see. So now we know that the data that they submitted in that Shantanu is chicken. So this is a link that Shantanu equals chicken. But instead of writing Shantanu, if I write username, and over here instead of writing I give a name for password. So once I go back to the normal page, I reload, I write username as chicken and password also as little. Yeah, I write password as little, username as chicken. So you press on submit, you can see username equals chicken and password equals little. You can see over here on the URL. So that's how we know that the data we're sending is actually being stored somewhere. This form is accepting our data. And if I want, I can change this link as well so it's easier to read. I write tacos again. This is an example. It's gonna be anything, okay? I write chicken. I write little. You can see it's gonna submit the tacos with username chicken and password little. If you've reached till here, yeah, okay, I'll show it one more time. And if your form data is being shown in the URL, please type done. Being shown. And I'll show it to you one more time, okay? So I'm reloading. I'm going back to my form. This is my form, you can see. Form action equals /tacos. And this is the first input. This is input type equals text with an ID of username 1. This is connected to the label of username, and placeholder says please enter username here. So I'll just change it to username. I'll make it a bit shorter. Username here. I go back to my website. Looks like this. Username here. And for seeing the data, I write name equals username. You can see here. And this can be anything you want. You can name it to US name or USR name. It's gonna once you submit the form, it's gonna change. Password, I can change it to PSSWRD password. Over here, I have a name attribute. Now if I go back and I write something here like test 123, I submit. You can see that USR name is equal to test and PSSWRD is equal to 123. You can see over here. So if you have got this, then please type done. Perfect. Perfect. You all got this. This is very important. I'm so glad you guys are learning very fast. Now next, we can continue on. And now we're going to be doing something very fun. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can hijack popular websites. So suppose I have a form over here. If I type some text in here, I want this to open a page on YouTube with the same text that I typed. So this is how I'll show you right now. So we go back here and we'll make a new form. So I'm gonna delete everything here, delete my form, and I'm just gonna copy one form from here. So first we're gonna go with YouTube because YouTube's the simplest. I'll show you how exactly I do it. One second. You can see this is a form, okay? So for now, I'll just keep this action blank. Or this is just a normal form. You can see. I'll share it with you as well. So once you use this form, it's not gonna go anywhere for now, but we're gonna make it access YouTube. You can see here. This is the form. This is a simple form, and once I type cars, for example, and I click on search. Wait, sorry. Once I type this, yeah. One second. If I type hello here, it says slash tacos question mark search query equals hello. So instead of writing username, I just made it search query. You can change this name to whatever you want. You can see over here. So now I'll show you how like whenever you go to YouTube and I search for cars. One second. Cars. You can see in the top, this is the URL. I'll copy this URL and I'll share it to the chat. Once I typed cars, this is what it said. See? www.youtube.com/results and then question mark search query equals cars. And what do we have? We have slash. This is what we have. We have our file slash tacos question mark search query equals hello. So instead of making slash tacos, what we need to do is we need to make this into the YouTube URL. So remember yesterday I showed you anchor tags, and once you wrote HTTP, we could go and jump to the actual websites. So same thing here. Instead of doing this, we can just copy the URL that's in the for YouTube's URL, basically YouTube's URL for searching stuff. So and that URL is this. You can see over here. And then there's a question mark, and it says search query equals, and then whatever you type. So now if you have a form like this, then you can start to search YouTube with whatever you type in this form. So I go back to my file. You can see over here, if I type cars, then it's going to open a page on YouTube with the results for cars. So first, please type done if you've reached till here, to this stage. I'll show you the VS Code. This is my form. If you have a form like this, please type done. And if you want to show me, you want me to show it again, please tell me. I can show it to you again. Okay, Madhav has it, and he's asked me to share in the chat. So I'll share the chat one. Share it in the chat once. So can we just put youtube.com, www.youtube.com? No, that won't work, because yesterday we tried that. And it doesn't work because we need HTTPS. I'll show it to you right now. So now, if you guys have it running properly, then if we test it out, I write cars in here, it should open YouTube. So if I click on this, as you can see, I'm on YouTube, and it's showing me results for cars. So you can see it's actually working. And if I type planes instead of cars, and I click on search YouTube again, now I'm gonna get videos of planes. You can see it's mainly plane crashes, but this is how it works. Is it working for you guys? Did it work for you all? Yeah, you can see that's very interesting. And I'll just clear the doubt. If I remove HTTPS and I just write www.youtube.com without changing anything else, you can see that it's not going to work. If I write cars, you can see now it's going to be taking me to www.youtube.com/results and then search query equals cars, but this is not what we want because this is our file system. You can see over here, this is local. We don't want it to be local. We want to go to the actual YouTube website. So that's why we write https:// and this is a clickable link. If I click on this, you can see this is empty because my search query is empty over here in the URL. But in the URL, if I type hello, then it's going to start showing me for results for hello. So even in the URL, you can change what you're searching for, like this. If I search for cars, Now it's going to show me about cars. So that's how you hijack for YouTube. I'll show you one or two more examples. It's the same syntax. This is for Uniqlo. And I have one for Google. Okay, so we can just see the differences. In Uniqlo, the action is different. You can see this is uniqlo.com/sg/en/search/, and then we have name equals Q instead of search query, but everything else is the same. So if I go to your Uniqlo and I search for blazer, then you can see this opens up Uniqlo. Oops. Yeah, you can see blazer on the top over here. It's search for blazer, and it's showing me all of these search results for blazer. Same way if I search for jacket, Uniqlo. Now it's going to open up for jackets. See? It's very nice. And now I'll show you for Google as well. This is for Google. For Google, it's very simple. It's just google.com/search, and then the same name as Q. They use Q instead of search query. For YouTube, they use search query, and for Google, they use Q. So for Google, suppose I'm searching for chickens. You can see now it's opening up chickens. And for Google, if I search for plane landing, now it's going to show plane landings. And so this is how we're hijacking popular sites, and we're forcing them to do our searches for us using a local website. This is our local website, as you can see. Test, if I type test, then there's gonna show up like speed tests and stuff. So this is how it works. I hope you have covered till here. Please type done if you reached it, if you found all three. I can share it for you as well. You can try it out once yourself. I'll share out the form. I'll share for Google once. 1 second. This is for Google. I've attached the code. Same way for Uniqlo, I'm attaching the code. Uniqlo codes and Google code, you can see. You can just open up your chat and you can copy the code and try it out once. And once you've tried it out, please type done so we can continue on. Very nice. I see lots of people have finished it. It's very fast. That's perfect. Next, we're going to be covering a different type of input. So you can see we've only covered one input, but this one input had so many types. I showed you type as password, type as text, and now we're going to be learning about a different type of input. This is a select input, and this is also very common. 1 second. I open VS Code, and I have the code saved to save time. I have a select input. Where's the, yeah, this is the form. Inside of this form, I'll just make a new form actually to keep it simple. Right now, if you can see, my website's gonna be blank again. Now I'm gonna make a new form. You guys know this already. Just type FORM. Oops, it's caps, FORM. And then action equals, I make it tacos. This is just a random place, it's gonna submit. And then I paste this here. So now, you can see that this is a label. I click on this and then it selects the select. Like this is called the select element. And if you can see here that there's so many options. So this is a good way, if you already know what the people should select, then you can use this and it looks very nice compared to an input. This looks much better. So if it's asking me to choose a pet, then this is how the select looks. And you can see that select syntax is first you have a select like this with a name and an ID, okay? Like last time, like I showed you. And then, like over here, name is pet and ID is pet select. And then you have many options, and each of these options have a value in them. You can see first one has a dog value, second cat, hamster, parrot, goldfish, and then inside this there's also text. But this text can be anything you want. I can write like this. Now you see this is gonna change the option. Now you can see instead of dog, it's showing dog 2T2T23, and same for cat, same for hamster. It's changed the text. So if you want the user, this is what I want the user to see. I can also change the values itself. Like instead of calling it dog, I can just call it D, and for cat I can call it C, for hamster I can call it H, like that. So I'm changing the values. So now what's gonna happen is if I submit this form, then it's gonna show you the data basically. So 1 second, I'm gonna make a button. Button type equals submit. I'm gonna write submit here, and suppose I select hamster, click on submit here, and you can see the URL. Look at the URL, it changed. It says pet equals hamster. So why is that happening? I'll show you why. So you go back to the form. First form action is tacos, so that's why we see it's submitting to tacos, and then there's a question mark, and then it says pet equals hamster. So what is pet? Where's pet written? Oh, pet's written over here for the select. Select has a name of pet. Suppose I change this from pet to test 123. I changed it to test 123 instead of pet. Now let's see what happens if I submit. If I select hamster, I click on submit, you can see it says test 123. So now instead of pet, it's test 123. So basically, this pet is what's going to be submitted as a form. So we changed it back to pet because pet makes sense. And now it's showing hamster. So, 1 second. Yeah. It's showing is equal to hamster. So what did we select? We selected this hamster over here. And this has a value of hamster. That's why it's showing hamsters. If I change this to zebra, it doesn't make sense. But if I change it to zebra and I go back and I select this one, you can see this. It has a value of zebra, but it has the text of hamster. So now if I press submit here, you can see pet equals zebra. So basically, the values in here are going to be submitted to the form. This is a bit complicated since you have a big syntax, as you can see here. I'm going to share this with you once. Please copy this code. I'm going to change it back to hamster because hamster makes sense. And if you were able to see this, and if you understood, then please write done or understood. If you understood how this works. I'll show it to you one more time. Basically, this is a select element. It has a name and an ID. The ID I'm using for the label, I've already showed you the labels before. Label for pet select. So if I press on this text over here, it's selecting the pet select. You can see the box is becoming black. There's a black border around it. Once I press on this, it becomes black. It's the same way this label is targeting the select. And inside of the select, we have lots of options. You remember, like yesterday, we were talking about lists. Lists are also pretty similar. We had, suppose, unordered lists. And inside of an unordered list, we had LIs. Remember? Many of them. And if I hide... wait. Like this. You can see this is an unordered list with lots of LIs, and each of them, like they're unique. You can change them. So this is the same concept. You can see a UL, and inside of that LIs. Same way a select, and inside of that options, okay? And each option has a value. So once you pass it in the form, that's how you give values to your form. So that's how you know what the person selected. If I select goldfish, and I click submit, it shows pet equals goldfish. This is very important. And if you've understood till now, please type yes or done. And if there's any doubts, please raise your hand. Okay. I don't see any doubts. I don't see any hands raised. Perfect. Now I'm going to continue on. Final input element we're going to be learning today is about text areas. So text areas are pretty similar to paragraphs. I'm going to delete all this again. I'm going to go to my form here. And over here I have nothing again. It's empty. There's an empty form here. It has nothing in it. And over here inside I'm going to write text area. So TEXT, and you can see that VS Code already auto completes for me. So I click on text area, and over here I'm going to write hello. For example, I write hello. So now you can see this is how a text area looks like. So you can see it looks very different compared to the other inputs we've seen, and this can be resized. You can see I can just make it go bigger and bigger, like for the entire page. I can keep dragging it. It can just, and if I want to like reset, I can just reload, and now it's going to be back to this again. So, and over here you can type text. This is how it works. This is just for text input. You can type numbers as well. You can type symbols. You can type whatever you want, like this. You can see, and there's so many. Once you cross the number of rows, you see a horizontal scroll over here. You can use that. I'm sharing the code for it right now. 1 second. I'll share it right now. You can see this over here. And you can see that this has two new attributes that we haven't learned. One is calls and one is rows, right? So call stands for columns and row stands for rows. So this is how you can change the size of the text area. So over here, you can see this has 30 columns and 10 rows. But if I make it 300 columns, then let's see what happens. You can see, oh, it's becoming very big. It's taking up more than the screen, so you can see there's a new vertical scroll bar because the text area is so big. You can see over here, this is the columns. The columns are now 300. Same way, if I change it to 3, it's going to be very small now. As you can see, only 3 columns. It's very squished. And next, I'll show you about rows. So if I keep this as 100 rows, now I can increase the width. Now you can see it's very long, like vertically long. You can see how long this is. But if I go back to something normal like 20, then it becomes small. You can see it becomes like this. And in this you have placeholder as well. So suppose you want placeholder to be write your comment here. I misspelled it. And if I delete everything text in there, you can see that if this is empty, then it's going to look like this. But if I type something, then it's going to be gone. So now it's showing me the text. But if it's empty, it's going to look like this. You can see. And this can be submitted to the form as well. Name equals text area input. Suppose I write it like this. And if I write a review, or I write something like my name is Shantanu, if I write that. Oops, and I need a submit button for the submitting the form. So I'll make a submit button right here. Button type equals submit. I showed you over here. I click on that. And over here we need text. Right now if I leave it without text, you can see that the button's missing. Like, look at this button. You can see it over here, right? If I zoom in for you. 1 second. Over here, look at this small button. You see it on the bottom? This is the button. But since there's no text in it, it looks very ugly. But once we write some text, it's going to look better. So if I write submit here. So now it looks like a normal button. I'm going to reset. So if I write my name is Shantanu again, and I submit, you can see that now it says text data input equals my plus name plus ish plus Shantanu. So where are these plus signs coming from? Basically these plus signs are used if you have spaces. So if I write I am 17 here, then you're going to see I plus am plus 17 because there's spaces here. So this is how we take input from text areas, and text areas are used, they're used if you want to write large amount of characters. In text area, the funny thing is they can hold unlimited number of characters, so it's very cool how they can hold unlimited number of them. And it's used to collect user inputs like comments or reviews. So even if you go to like YouTube, and I go to this, just mute this, I go down, you can see this is the text area. Never mind, I can't write a comment because it's asking me to log in, but this is the text area over here, this long one. And on YouTube, if you want to write comments, you use text areas. So anyways, that's done. And now we've officially covered all of the inputs I wanted to show you today. So now if you have any doubts, please ask me, and if you don't, then we're gonna have a very fun quiz. It's gonna be like Kahoot, and if you have any doubts, please ask me now. And this Kahoot quiz is gonna be a recap of what we learned yesterday and today, because from tomorrow we're gonna learn CSS, and we're gonna change how this website looks. As you can see, this is just a plain HTML website, but once we learn CSS, we can start styling things, and we can change the color, background color, text, and all that. So if you have any doubts, please ask now. Does everyone have no doubts? So, do we start the quiz? Please type yes if you want the quiz to start. It's gonna be a fun activity, a little bonding experience for all of us. I hope everyone's excited. So great, you guys seem very excited. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm just gonna start the quiz. I'm gonna log into my site, and I'm gonna show you how to enter. So, just 1 second. Okay, so this is a website called Quizzes. I couldn't use Kahoot because Kahoot had a limit of 10 participants, but Quizzes is supposed to allow 100. So now I'm going to show you guys how to join the quiz. So basically, I share the link with you. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, perfect, I found it. So what you want to do is you want to open this URL. Please click on this URL. And once you've clicked on it, you're going to write a code, and that code is 834444. So like 4 4s and 83. 83 and then 4 4s. You can see over here. I'll give spacing so that it's easier to see. This is the code. So once you've done that, please type done in the chat. Oh, I see people participating. I see like 3 people already joined. That's great. And please write your name as a participant. I have 7 people already. That's perfect. We'll start once lots of people have joined. Perfect. So I have so many people online right now. I have 16. Wow. 17. 19. I'll be starting in 2 minutes. 21. I'll just wait for 1 more minute and then I'll start the quiz. I'll start the quiz at 12:09. If you haven't joined, please join now. Okay, so I'll just start it now. Oh, wait, someone joined as well? 22, okay, perfect. Now I'm starting it. Starting it now. So let's play together. Just watch you guys. This is the leaderboard. Last one's a tricky question, so if you don't get it right, don't worry. The last one was not covered in class, but it's fine. Batman was first. I'll stop it in a minute. Once everyone's done. So we can see who won, and it was the Batman. I'm not sure what your name is, but congratulations on winning. That's great. So yeah, who is the winner? Like, congratulations on winning, and congratulations Vanshika, Rudran, Sharvesh, Arush, all of you. Great job. A lot of you got all of the answers correct, so that's pretty good. And actually, the last question, I was gonna cover it later, but since we were running out of time, I couldn't tell you. But basically, if you have, for example, if you go back to the form, this is a form. This is the form we made. Remember, for text area. If I just change this to input, normal input type equals text and a button, and if I remove the type for the button, I just leave it like this. So technically the code shouldn't work, but we can see that actually it's gonna submit still. It's still gonna submit. Even if I don't have a submit tag, you can see it still goes to tacos over here. If I write something and I press submit, it's submitting, and even if I write type equals submit, type equals submit, then also it's gonna submit. You can see. So over here you can see. So they're both working. So they're both correct, technically speaking, but I always write type equals submit just so I don't make any errors. And especially when you have lots of code, you should always have a type with the button next to it. And so that's an expensive lesson. Like, now you guys remember if you got the question wrong. I don't think any got it wrong, only one or two. But now you will remember that if you have a button without a submit, it still submits. So you should always be careful whenever you're designing your applications. As you can see, it's still submitting. So that's it. That's all I wanted to show. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining. If you have any questions, you can ask them now. You can raise your hands. And give yourself a big round of applause for the quiz. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you have no questions, you can leave.
Congratulations, sorry. Congratulations, Arhan,
Congratulations. Yeah.
Rudransh, and Vanshika. You
Yeah.
did really well. And many others also I saw scored well. It's good to see that you could understand all this. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sid.